In this video, I'm going to explore the idea of how having a job can actually be a crutch. And I don't know if the word crutch is the best word to use, but what I mean is it stops you from looking at your own problems. And so I had a friend who, he's felt lonely for a long time, but he's never actually been alone because he still lives with his family. And when I spent time with him, I could feel that he wasn't fully self reliant in the sense that if he didn't feel like he had something to do, he got into a depressed state. And so when you have a job, it gives you something to do. It gives you a distraction. It gives you, like, if you have a job and you work, when you come home, you feel like you did something. You feel validated, and now you can enjoy yourself and have fun. But the thing is, you do that for 5 years, you never actually get anywhere. Because if you just go to your job and come home and have fun, you're not studying, you're not learning anything, you're just having fun. Like, you go to your job and then you come home and you're like, oh, I deserve to play video games because I worked really hard today. Well, going to a job in my eyes isn't actually working. And I'm not 100% for real when I say that, but what I mean is that when I talk about work, when I think about working, I'm thinking about working on something that's meaningful to you, a project that you care about, or learning something that you're interested in. Going to a job and that has nothing to do with your passion, it's not really working. It's just surviving. I know there's definitions, whatever, but you know what I mean. So, if you've never been alone and you have a job, like, forget about the being alone part. It's like the friend that I was with, when we're spending time together traveling, he he didn't know what to do, and that made him depressed because he felt directionless. He's always had jobs his whole life, and so having a job, like I said, gave him something to do. And because he's never actually been alone, if you're with your family, you can talk to your family, and you can just feel their presence in the house. You're not actually, even if you're in your bedroom by yourself, you're not actually alone because the vibe is not the same as if you're truly alone. And so what I'm getting to is that you need to learn how to become, the word I'm thinking is self-reliant. And people might be like, getting a job is being self-reliant, but I mean, like, you need to be able to be alone and have something to do and enjoy yourself. It's like, if you are completely alone and you get depressed and you get bored and you have, like, no idea what to do, you just want to play video games, you just want to smoke weed, you just want to fall into bad habits, it's like, hey man, like, my recommendation is that a lot of people would benefit greatly from actually being alone. And so here's one of my recommendations. So, of course, I'm in favor of living in the car. And if you don't have the money to, get your own place, well, that might have to be what you need to do. And so let's just say, if you can make it work, like, you can go camping in a tent. You don't have to sleep in a car. So, like, go camping for a month, preferably 2 or 3 months, by yourself, and do not have a job. If you need to make money, you do DoorDash or Uber Eats. Usually Uber Eats pays better. If you have a job, then you're just surrounded by other people who you're going to become familiar with, and it puts you on a schedule that you have to follow. When you do Uber Eats, you work because you chose to work, not because you had to. And when you're working Uber Eats, you're still alone. And so what you need to do is be able to, ideally, like, do this in a city that you've never been before, at least like 2 or 3 hours away from home, if not 500 to 1,000 miles away from home, like 1 or 2 3 states away. And you really want to grow as a person, go be alone for extended period of time, like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, And here's another thing you should do. You should go somewhere where you're completely alone and make new friends. Well, I've just said about being. I just said you should be alone, but now I'm telling you to make friends. Well, look, there's a big difference between. What I mean is make friends in real life. A lot of people, their friends, they've met through work or school, not through their own efforts. They just got familiar with people and they got close. They didn't talk to somebody at a street. They didn't go to like an open mic or an event. So here's my recommendation for great self development: move 500 to 1,000 miles away from home. Don't get a job. Do Uber Eats. Sleep in your car or a tent, or if you have money, they don't have to do Uber Eats. Get a house or something, and make friends through your own efforts, not through a job, not through school. And you're not allowed to play video games. You're not allowed to watch porn. Try not to scroll on your phone. Really try not to. And so I've done this before. Like there was a time where I didn't have a car, and I didn't want to stay at my mom's house because the EMF is off the charts. I'm here now. I don't think it affects me as much as it used to, or maybe I was just depressed before and I was blaming the EMF. I'm not sure, but anyway, I was in a campground that had no connection, and it kind of had connection. Like I could barely send my mom a text. I couldn't really watch videos, and so I had no connection. I was alone in the campground, and here's the other thing: it was really hot. It was super hot at nighttime. It was like 80 degrees, and it was so hot, which made it kind of difficult. But I'm not saying you have to live somewhere hot when you do this, but this was 2 years ago. I did that for 2 months. 2 months I was totally alone in the campgrounds. And this year I camped with a friend for 2 months. So I wasn't completely alone, but we had no connection. And there was a lot of time just sitting in the tent doing nothing for 10 hours, And so there's like two main purposes of this. Well, there's a lot more than two, but what I'm thinking of is like, you're sitting alone. You need to learn how to entertain yourself. What's one option of entertaining yourself? Thinking, or working on a project. Read a book, write, study something, be productive. But don't tell yourself that you're studying something on YouTube and watching videos. If you're going to be studying something, don't be doing it on YouTube by watching videos. Unless like you're really serious, like, and it's not some just excuse. Like I know people who will watch videos all day thinking they're studying and being productive, but they're just procrastinating and taking action. And so it's like, for example, if I'm studying astrology, I paid for an astrology course. I can watch those videos. It's not really scrolling. I'm going in order and studying and thinking about it. And so I'm just encouraging you to be alone. And I don't mean like be lonely. I mean actually be alone, far away from people. No porn, no scrolling on the phone, no video games, no job. You have to sit with yourself. And here's something I encourage you to do. Here's some thought exercises. What was the first mistake you've ever made in your life? For me, what was the first mistake I ever made in my life? The earliest thing I could think of was saying something to a girl that I knew would hurt her feelings, and I just said it because my mom told me not to, and so I said it because I wanted to do the opposite of what my mom said. I was probably like 5 or 6 or 7 or something. That's the earliest mistake I can think of making. And then just think of every mistake you've made in your life in order, starting from the earliest possible, and why you made it. And I've matured recently. Looking back in my high school days, I was what I was thinking about was I forgot what I was thinking about, but I was trying. Okay, I remember. I was having some issues with a friend where he would I felt like he would see me as something that I'm not. And so I was purposefully acting stupid just to say, oh, you think I'm stupid? Let me act stupid for you so you can continue to believe I'm stupid. So I'd purposefully exaggerate things and act more stupid on purpose, just because I was upset with him. And I was trying to think about, why would I do that? Why was I doing that? And I was trying to think, and like the image in my mind popped up of in my high school days, um, some I don't remember exactly what it was, but some interaction with my teachers that I was having, and I'm like, man, looking back, I would have acted totally differently if I was there now. And I was trying to think about, why do I do that? I was talking to ChatGPT about it, trying to figure it out. I was meditating, really trying to think about it. It's good to use ChatGPT, but it's also good to think without it also. Think by yourself first and then use it, or sometimes, whatever. And so I was trying to think, what was it? Is it because I want to feel included? I want to feel welcomed by others and accepted by others? And by me invalidating myself, they don't get the chance to actually disapprove of me because I'm disapproving of myself for them? Something like that. That's what ChatGPT's idea was. I'm like, that makes sense. I was trying to think, what was the first time I ever felt unwelcomed, unaccepted in my life? And the earliest memory I could think of was I was in kindergarten, and there's two boys playing with some toys, and either I wanted to have my turn or I wanted to play with them, and they kind of bullied me, and they were mean to me and didn't let me play with them, and they played by themselves and didn't let me play with them. And I think that's the first time I ever wasn't accepted. And I was trying to think about, how did that affect me? And then, in middle school, I was seen as the annoying, weird kid who had Tourette's. And so what would I do? I would piss people off on purpose. I would annoy people on purpose. Similar reason to why I treated my friend like I did, as I described a moment ago. And so why did I do that? It's kind of like a big fuck you, But why would I have the need to do that? Because maybe I was still secretly wanting their approval, wanting them to see behind the facade and see the real me without me having to tell them, for them to see me without having to explain myself. I'm not sure. But these are the types of things that are good to think about. And so think about every mistake you made, why you made it, how you felt, how it affected you, and how you could have acted differently. And now think about every good decision you've made, why you made it, how you felt when you made it, etc., etc. And then think about everything that happened to you, that happened to you. It wasn't your choice. That affected you significantly, whether it was positive or negative. Can you really think about why it happened? You could think about the other person did it because of this. Not because of you, but something inside themselves. Or it might not even be another person. It might be an event that has no human control. And you could think, okay, well, how did that affect me? How did I interpret that decision? How did I feel before that decision? And how did my life look after? And with how I am now, if the same thing happened, and it happened to me, how would I have responded differently? And if it affected you negatively, you have to time travel to the part of yourself that you have to visualize in detail. How did you feel in that time? Feel it. The theme, the vibe, your personality, how everything felt. The season of your life that you're in before that happened. And then compare that to what changed and try to reclaim that innocence of yours. And just think about everything. And meditate, and just try to meditate on the object of the feeling that you had in your life at that age of your life. The experience, the vibe, the feelings. Try to relive it now instead of a meditation. And then you slowly regain it back. And so what was I talking about in the beginning of this video? Being alone with yourself. Okay, yeah, these are the things that you think about. And so what are some other thought exercises? Write down your life story. And so I've written my life story multiple times. Let me give you a once over. I'll talk about my childhood. My dad was in the military. He worked in the Pentagon. I talk about my family background, and I theorize how that might have affected you, or what kind of genetics your family gave you, and what karma you're working through as a result of your family, ancestral karma and stuff. So my mother's side is intuitive, they're psychic, spiritual. Divorce on both sides, grandma, grandpa. My mom's parents, my dad's parents, my parents. Why did that happen? What are the similar patterns? And if that happened to my family, it's likely that I'll face a similar thing in my life. and how can I break that cycle? Why did it happen to them? Why did they make those decisions? And what places in my life have I noticed the similar pattern, these similar patterns arising? And the earliest memory you have in your entire life. For me, my mom's a massage therapist, and when the beginning of my life, she had a lot of affluent clients, wealthy clients, and she was holding me, and she was in a mansion, and either this was my first dream that I can remember, or it's a first memory. I don't know. I think I was a baby, 1, 2, 3 years old. I don't know, and it was like the Super Mario 64 mansion with the stairs in the middle, and it goes off to the both sides. That's the earliest memory I have. I don't even know if it's a real memory or not, but I think she was going to massage them or something. And then, what's my second earliest memory? What pops up in my mind is my original family home, being in the kitchen. The Not one specific memory, but just that scene in my life that was replayed. And just think about your life in order, and then where does it stop getting foggy? Like, okay, I went to the zoo with my family, Disney World, blah blah blah. I can think about, okay, kindergarten, the bully story I told you. I can think about some memories of that. What about before kindergarten? I can barely remember preschool. Barely. I remember seeing like a 5-foot tall tornado, dust devil or whatever, in front of the preschool. And then, first grade, this girl who was cutting her own hair in school, talking to like split ends. I had no idea what the fuck that was. She had toy scissors, and she was cutting her own hair in class. And that's the only memory I have. I remember being in first, second grade, and I'd have a number in the back of my shirt, and when the kids behind me would trace the number with their finger in the back of my shirt, and I remember it felt so good. And that was something that happened commonly in the early elementary school. Just thinking about the video games I used to play back then. And then fourth grade, I had my first crush on this girl, and I used to hang out with her. And I remember I wanted to spend the night with her, and her mom said, "Oh, you guys are getting too old to do that now," and I was disappointed. In fifth grade, think about that. Think about sixth grade. Think about summer. Think about when you started school. Think about the middle of the school year, when you graduated that year, and then the next summer. Think about every summer. What were you doing? I remember this one summer, fourth, fifth grade, third, I don't know, waiting for my friend across the street who was in middle school or whatever to get home so I could play with him. On my front porch. Just the vibe I felt, the temperature, the serenity, the peace, the things I thought about that period of my life, really try to feel it, understand it, and just go in order. Sixth grade, I started going to great skate. I finally had some girlfriends. I had a lot of a lot of girls really liked me in middle school when I went to great skate. It was a skating rink in my hometown, and every night the girls at the end of the night, they'd want to give me a hug and take pictures with me because I was the best skater, and everybody wanted to be on my team. I was really popular, and I actually learned the astrological reason why I had a track. Why all the women, they weren't women. I was in middle school. All the girls loved me back then, and I learned the astrological reason why that happened and when it's going to start happening again. Which I'm really looking forward to. I remember I started going to Grace Skate, and the girl stopped giving me attention. I was like, what's going on? Why am I not getting it? I used to stand at the edge of the rink at the end of the night. Always knowing the girls were going to come up to me. And eventually they stopped coming up to me. And I can look at the astrology and figure out the exact time when it stopped happening. I'm like, oh my God, wow. Vedic astrology, not Western astrology. And, at school, I was the weird kid. At Great Skate, I was the fucking stud. All the girls liked me, and I had my first experiences as a result of that. And, man, I was a stud. Yeah, I was fucking a little bit of a player in middle school at the skating rink. But I go to school and nobody liked me. None of the girls really liked me. I'd mess around a little bit. And I had this little low-key confidence where they'd low-key respect me. Because there's something about it. I was still weird though, but freshman year, I started going to, I started marching band. I couldn't go to grade skate anymore. And, every year in high school, I had a girlfriend, except for senior year, and just playing, trying to think of my life in order every single month, month to month to month, every event, replay my life, and then write the life story and, why I made the decisions. And, I posted my life story on YouTube. I deleted it just because there's some things that a little embarrassing. or some things that I don't like what I said. I wanted to reword it. And the thing is, my life story could have been a lot longer. But I'm just like, people aren't going to watch it. People aren't going to care enough. I just need to talk about the main points and, not all the filler details, but write your life story with all the filler details. This is what you should be doing while you're alone. All these types of writings and thinking. And I think my life really started when I started the diet, March 2019. What was I doing when I started the diet? Really, my life really started like shortly before I started the diet, when I was really meditating, really, really, really seriously, and taking psychedelics. So when I think about my life, I always start from that point in my life. When I think about who I am, what has happened to my life, I think about when I really became an adult, I guess, would be like October 2018. That's when I took life into my own hands. I started meditating. I was like a monk, like a yogi. I was meditating religiously, and I was on point. I was super on point. I felt so good about myself. I felt so ahead of everybody. I would go to school already having meditated 2 hours, and I felt the sense of clarity I never experienced in my life, and I realized that nobody else experienced either. And it gave me a little bit of a spiritual ego, but I really practiced really hard. I started the diet shortly after that, fell out of the practice, poor health, started the smoking addiction really bad. I was already smoking before that, but it got bad, because I damaged my health with vaccines and the fasting. It took me 2 years of being on the diet before I realized that all my problems, like the fatigue and the laziness, was bad health, not my mindset. With my meditation phase taught me about mindset and willpower. And then when I destroyed my health, I tried to continue to think like mindset and willpower type living. Then I realized it wasn't my mindset, it was my health. That it's the health that gives you willpower, largely. And so I just think about, March 2019, how was I when I started the diet? March 2020, January 1st, 2020, I met a girlfriend. Or no, it was December 31st, I think, or January 1st, whatever. And I think about how I felt during my life at that time. What was going on? What was I focused on? What were my goals? What did my relationship look like with that girl? It lasted about 2 months. I remember we broke up shortly before Valentine's Day. I paid for a cabin. I didn't know the cabin had no AC. It was freezing cold. I was fasting for multiple days. I took acid at that cabin after the heartbreak. Excuse me. When it was extremely cold, I had all my clothes on and 5 blankets, and I felt pain in my bones. Excuse me. And I fucked my health. And that was making it worse. I was also fasting, and I broke the fast with a joint and pineapple after all that pain. And then, I think about like every 3-6 months, okay, so I was on the diet. Okay, I was on the diet for 6 months. What was going on? I had a door-to-door sales job. I broke down crying on the job one day because I was walking all day, knocking on doors, and my body was so weak. It caused so much pain. I was in pain walking. I suffered, and I could not handle the physical exercise. I'm like, what's wrong with me? Like, I used to hike all the time, and I'm just walking in this neighborhood. I can't even walk. I'm like breaking down on the job. I cried out because I was like I was like completely at my limits, and I thought it was my mindset, and I thought I was just being a pussy. Like I said, it took me 2 years. When I was in a cabin in the jungle in Mexico, I was reflecting my life like I'm describing these exercises now, and I realized it was the vaccines, the fasting that damaged my health. It wasn't my mindset. Anyway, going back 1 year on the diet, I met that girlfriend who I was with 2 years for 2 months, but I met her two months before the 1 year mark. The 1 year mark, I moved to Arkansas. A few months after that, like April, I moved to Arkansas, and I had my own house for the first time. I lived alone for the first time in my life for 4 months. I was going to Toastmasters. I went to a Freemason lodge one time to interview them. I was going to Rotary meetings, trying to meet wealthy people to become friends and find mentors. I wore a suit every day, wearing a suit everywhere I went. And I had a bad acid trip around that time, and I had PTSD from that and had flashbacks. And I was very dissociated from reality, and I didn't know if life was real, and I had a really, really, really hard time. And then, 1.5 years on the diet. I was recovering from the PTSD. I was in the vegan meditation community. Then I did solar panels door to door, and I had some drama in that in the group home I lived in. Some of them were on the diet, thinking about that. What kind of attitude did I have back then? You know, how did I treat people back then? How did I think about people? How did I behave back then? Why? You know, and it's the feeling of everything. 2.5 years on the diet. Where was I? I was actually 2 years on the diet. 1.5 years was the door to door in the vegan community. I was on the primal diet in a vegan community. 2 years in the diet. I was in right before that. I was working on a farm in Texas, woofing. I was depressed. It didn't work out. I got really sick. I kept getting sick every time I tried to do something. I just get sick everywhere I went. Fail, 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 fail. Because I get sick, I'd break down, break down, break down. 2 years on the diet. Went to Mexico. It was in the middle of Corona. I thought the world was ending because I thought I was going to be forced a vaccine. I had to leave the country before it became mandatory, or you weren't allowed to leave the country without a vaccine. And that's when I realized my health was the problem. It wasn't my mindset. And then I think about my experience in Mexico. That's when I started the Reddit. That's when I started, shortly after that, making videos, YouTube and Instagram. 2.5 years in the diet, I was with a lovely girlfriend who I remember very dearly. And back then, I was not a good partner. I didn't know that I wasn't a good partner. Looking back now, I'm like, wow, I really didn't treat her well. But I didn't know that I wasn't treating her well because I was naive. I didn't have good role models really growing up. I didn't know what healthy relationships. I had a bunch of friends when I was a kid, but they all moved away when I was like 6 or 7 years old. And then I was left completely alone. Then I had no friends for a long time because all my friends moved in the same year, basically. And I was the weird kid, and all I did was play video games. And, I had no social interactions except for fucking with people at school, And so I didn't know how to have a relationship. And, damn, I wasn't necessarily mean to her. I wasn't mean to her. I treated her really well. And I try to be considerate, but there's things that I did that I didn't know. I didn't realize how it would impact her at the time. There's decisions I made. There's things I did that, looking back, I'm like, you idiot. You hurt her. Like, I was not good. And here's the thing. I didn't know that I was doing anything wrong. And I'm like, damn, what could I be doing wrong that right now that I think might not be bad? What mistakes could I be making right now like I was in the past? And really trying to analyze all my beliefs, everything I do. How do I feel how I feel? Like, judging myself in every way possible. Because, man, I loved her so much. And looking back, it breaks my heart how it makes me almost cry every time I talk about it. But I just, can't talk to her. But anyway, yeah, it sucks because she loved me and I loved her, but I didn't know how to be. And at the same time, of course, she wasn't perfect either, and she had her own problems too. Yeah, we were both young and we both made mistakes. But anyway, 2.5 years in the diet, I was with her. 3.5 years, I was still with her. 3.5 years, I was still with her. 4 years, we just broke up. And so it's like, okay, 2.5 years in the day, I was with her, trying to regain my health. I broke up with her for the first time, broke up with her several times. Trying to think about why I did every time. And the biggest problem with the relationship, how I hurt her, was I knew it wasn't going to work and I broke up with her. The problem was when I got back with her every time. That's where the problems really were. Because that's where a lot of the hurt came. And so 3 years on the diet. I just finished a really cold winter, -10 degrees. That girl who loved me so dearly lived with me in the car. She was like 95 pounds, and she was in the cold with me. And her words, she was with me because she didn't want me to be alone. And I believe her when she said that. Of course, her family is toxic and she wanted to get away from her family. But I do believe she was honest when she said that. She loved me and she didn't want me to be alone in the cold car. The car was small and crammed. You couldn't even lean back all the way. Could only recline the chairs halfway, the seats. And just thinking about waking up every day in that cold with her, the relationship I had with her, and what I did in regards to, like, I'd go on hikes and doing the DoorDash and trying to get her to do the diet and her not really liking the foods. I didn't really know how to make recipes back then either. If I did, maybe she would have ate them. And trying to make vegetable juice, and it's so cold. My hands are freezing outside at the park, and the cops are getting called because I have all this food at the park, and they don't kick me out. They just tell me to clean up when I'm done. And my milk is freezing in the car. My eggs are so cold, and all I wanted to do was improve my health because I was suffering and struggling for a few years, and I realized that my health is the problem. It's not about pushing through with my willpower. It's about improving my health. And I was so disappointed. I was living in the car because my mom got evicted, and I was like, damn, only if I did the diet better when I wasn't in the car, because right now I'd be in better health. And I was just trying to do the diet, but I couldn't because of the cold. I didn't cheat on the diet though. 3 years, it got warm. The winter was it was warming up again. I gained 40 pounds in 10 weeks. Did the diet pretty well. Tried to go to some hot springs after breaking up with the girlfriend a few times, and 3.5 years on the diet. What was I doing? 4 years on the diet. What was I doing? 4.5 years on the diet. What was I doing? 5 years on the diet. What was I doing? 5.5, 6, 6.5. That leads me to right now. What do I expect to be doing 7 years on the diet? 7.5 years, 8 years. What are my projections for the future? And this is what I think about a lot. And I really strategize and think about, like, all this types of stuff. And should I share what's going on with my life right now with you? Yeah, I talked about the past. Might as well talk about the present, right? I'm going to suck an egg. And so I ran out of space, so the video stopped. But what I was thinking about yesterday was, how much of my lack of success is due to my own inadequacies at the moment. Like, and what I mean by that, what I'm actually, not inadequacies, but I guess so, but mistakes I've made, or not necessarily that, but not working when I know I could have, like scrolling my phone instead of studying or meditating or whatever. Well, one thing I was thinking is that, sometimes it's not so black and white as being lazy or not being lazy, but it's just that sometimes you're just going through something, and it's just something to go through. And it's not just like a mood, but it's like an energy inside of you that, imagine you have a ball of yarn, and that string, you have to slowly pull out that string, and that ball gets smaller and smaller and smaller until it's just a string. And so it's like I have this built up energy inside me, and it just has to come out slowly over time, months of being alone, whatever. And so how much time have I spent alone? I mean, like, totally alone with nobody around me, like in my car or anywhere. 2.5 to 3.5 years. And, I guess most people, they're with their family, then they go to college and they have roommates. And some people could be 30 years old and never have spent time alone. Some people might get their own place and live alone, maybe a percentage of people. So I'm not completely unique in that, but I will say that it does mature you a lot. Thinking about someone who's lived alone in their own apartment or house versus someone who has roommates, you compare the two people, it's likely, in my mind at least, I see the person who has lived alone, and in my experience, what I've observed is they've developed another layer of maturity in themselves. They've grown up more. And so, I spent 2.5, 3.5 years totally alone. So here's what I was wanting to share. It's just that my life has an interesting pattern. I tried to leave home, and something always happens that forces me back without my consent. Like, I'm forced to. And I always think, hey, I'm not going to have to come home this time. Things are different. And I always end up having to come home. Where am I right now? I'm home. Yeah, it's funny. Now, I'm just going to share the last 7 years, the things that have happened that I feel like weren't completely in my control. And I remind myself this because I don't need to beat myself up. I used to beat myself up a lot, but I think it's just the universe, it's karma, or I'm supposed to wait to have my success, or there's something I need to I have to go through this for some reason in order to develop myself into something. It's molding me in a certain way. And so these are it's kind of like you're in a video game, you can't get past the level up because you're not the level, and you just can't get there. No matter, you can't, like, you try to go around it, but you get sent back every time. And so it's like, okay, I had the poor health from the vaccines and the fasting, that door-to-door sales job, I did not have the health to even walk, and I at South Carolina, the solar panels, it didn't really work out with the place because the owner of the company got fired. Not the owner, but the manager got fired, so all the new people got let go. I did really good the first day, but there's a bunch of drama in the house, ruined my mood, and I couldn't knock on the doors anymore. I lost all my confidence and my charisma, but before that I felt great. So it was in my control for the manager to get fired, and or for all the drama to happen. And it's just, let me skip past that part. I know, like, I tried to work on 2-3 farms woofing, and I got really sick every time I got kicked off the farm, or I decided to leave, just because I can't work because of my body, it's my health. It wasn't about my willpower or anything, my mindset. And my mom got evicted. It wasn't. I didn't learn that ogenous was the truth yet. So I was still smoking. I was doing the diet really well the first 2 years, and I used to beat myself up. Hey, when I started the diet, if I did it right, then I would have. When I became homeless, I would have had the energy to be productive to get out of the situation faster. And traveled southwest to Hot Springs. I couldn't make enough money delivering, so I had to come home. I tried it again in Colorado. It didn't work. I had to come home. I went to Pennsylvania, tried to get a group home with some primals and the girlfriend I mentioned. And, we were both kind of depressed as the money wasn't good at the deliveries. And, I just didn't have it in me to get a job because, like, I couldn't handle the physical. I couldn't handle standing on my feet for 8 hours for real. Like, for real. I couldn't handle it. Like, physically. I'd get shin splints and I'd get injured doing that, actually. And I wanted the time to, like, improve myself and not deplete myself by having a job because the Uber DoorDash is better. And so it wasn't really until later until I realized that Uber Eats pays way better. The DoorDash, like, hey, I would work 6-7 hours a day and then spend every penny on food and gas and still have no money left over. And just because I wanted to improve my health, and having a job and having more money wouldn't have been healthy for me because I would have just been breaking myself down. And I had a car accident in Nashville. Lost the car. I got a new car with insurance money. That car broke down within a week, and then I got this van last year, and then the van just broke down a few months ago. And why didn't I have the money to repair it, or before to fix my other car, or because the DoorDash barely paid, and I didn't have the health to have a job. And this van, I got the van. I went to Miami. I couldn't make money in Miami delivering, and I had a new rule: don't live in somewhere in the car cold in the winter. And so I made enough money to feed myself there, but I couldn't save money. Then I thought that it might be better in Southern California, so I went to Southern California, spent a few months there. I couldn't make any money there. The Uber Eats was terrible there too. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to Nashville, make some money. I made really good money for like a few months, and the car broke down, but I didn't have enough money to fix it still because I was paying off debt because I couldn't make any money in other places. So it's just like unfortunate events. I try to do a job, doesn't work out. I tried to go to a certain city to make money. I can't make money there, or the car breaks down before I'm able to create enough savings. And so it's funny, I've been to Nashville twice, and the car's broken down or gotten into an accident. It's like I'm not allowed to go there and make money for whatever reason. And like I said, everybody tells me to get a job, and I am in the point where I'm like, a year and a half ago I did have a job, and it was difficult, but I was in better health finally, to handle it. And right now, I share my mom's car, do the Uber Eats on the weekends here in St. Louis, St. Charles, and it's good enough. It's good enough. Can't make a ton of money to save, and it's not super good on weekdays, but hey, I'm getting by now. And so why am I sharing this? Well, just because I guess I just want to share my problems, or my I don't know if these are problems, but just share my struggle. I don't know. Some people think that I'm in the same position in my life. People have started to take me way less seriously because I'm still in the same situation as I was years ago. and they think that either I don't work hard or I'm just stupid or whatever. And I'm like, man, I am working. I'm trying all sorts of things, and it just doesn't work. And when is it going to start working? I'm not going to tell you, but with astrology, but it will work. Things will work out. I'm going to be fine. It's probably going to be similar as to what I've experienced the last several years, for a little longer, but then things will get better. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And here's the thing, I'm always growing. Even though my bank account has the same amount of money and I'm still at my mom's, I am growing. And so maybe I'm sharing this because, I don't know, do you ever beat yourself up? Blame yourself for being adequate or being lazy? Well, some of it is not all your fault, because sometimes it's the universe. And I thought for years and years, what belief do I have that is holding me back from living the life I want to live? What belief is causing the universe to hold me back? Like, what it wants me to learn something before I am allowed to succeed. And someone watching this video might be a smart ass, like, yeah, it wants you to learn to get a job. I'm like, okay, fuck you. That's not what it is. Who am I to say what it is or what it isn't? Oh yeah, like, I'm in better health now. I probably could do okay at a job because I can handle standing now for 8 hours, and I probably still get shin splints. Probably still be difficult. I could save my money and get a house, and then I get a job for 6 months and I save my money and I buy a car and I get an apartment. Then what? I'm still gonna be in the same position. I'm in my mom's house. I'm in an apartment. Same thing. Doesn't really change anything. What really changes things is the relationships you have, what you do on a daily basis. Are you bringing people together? Are you living a good life? Are you happy every day? Are you having fun? Like, are you growing? If I have a job, I feel like I'm not growing. I feel like I'm wasting my time. It's like, I want to go home so I can go study, go home so I can go practice and develop my skills. You might be like, oh, you can develop people skills at your job. I'm like, you have to be fake at your job to survive. You can't be yourself at your job actually. Oh, you can learn how to be fake better. You can learn how to fit in. I'm like, nah. So where am I getting with this? Well, I don't really see it necessarily as an incorrect belief I have right now. I just understand the planetary time periods I'm going through, and what's going on is that I am being molded into a certain, I don't want to get the details of my chart, but I'm being molded in a certain way that is necessary for the future, and that if I had the success now, it would not look the same as if I get it when I'm supposed to get it, because I'm supposed to continue to go through certain things right now in order to learn certain things. And it's not just about learning things, it's about going through something changes who you are. It might not. So look, your beliefs are largely based on how you feel. If how you feel changes, your beliefs change. Your beliefs don't necessarily determine how you feel. How you feel determines the beliefs. Theoretically speaking, this is out of my ass. This is freestyled philosophy. And so as I feel differently over the next 2 years, as a result of going through the experiences I'm going to go through, my beliefs will change. It's not, yes, maybe your beliefs, maybe you could think about something and you realize something and then you feel differently. But is thinking just a form of feeling? I don't know. Because when you think of something and it feels right, isn't it just feeling right? It feels true. It's true. So I'm trying to keep the video smooth without big gaps where I might have to think, but because I won't have to edit it at all. I'm patient because I understand what's going through my life. Because I understand what I'm going through my life right now, I have patience because I know it is what it is and it's what it needs to be. And here's what matters: that with what's presented in front of you, you, to the best of your ability, always do what you know you're supposed to do. And it's about tuning your feelings into your heart and working towards purity. And purity, I'm not talking about biblical scripture, but about being honest and sincere with yourself. Refer to my last video. Sincerity is the number one development. Purity is sincerity. Sincerity is purity. So it's about becoming clear. Becoming clear is becoming pure. And then every moment do what you believe to be right, what you feel is right, etc., etc., whatever words. And should I end the video here? I will clear my mind. I'll take like 10 breaths. Let's see. I encourage you to. The reason I'm not going to edit this out is because it's good for you to do the same. So count 10 breaths, deep breaths through your belly. Okay. That was nice. Well, I think I want to meditate now, so I'll end the video there. If you watched this far, please like the video. It's very important, or else nobody's going to see it. And please leave a comment. Ideally, a comment that actually has something to input, or something you liked, or because it's good to comment something that someone can spend a second reading and maybe reply to your comment. Even if it's simple as you enjoyed the video or something that I said that you liked, or please leave a comment. Please like if you watched this far. If you don't, it's likely the video is barely going to be shown to anybody. And I like people to see this video, so please like and comment. Thank you.